I should not be alive today, yet here I am, breathing, speaking, and telling you something I never imagined I would experience. After my accident, I found myself floating above my body, and in that moment I entered a place where time no longer existed. There I was shown visions that shook my soul. I saw ancient scrolls, dusty and fragile, but glowing with light. They were not just words on old paper, they were alive. They carried a message written thousands of years ago, a message meant for us today. The voice beside me whispered, "These are the Dead Sea Scrolls. They will open your eyes." In that vision, I saw a young shepherd. His name was Karim. Wandering the desert cliffs in 1947, he was searching for a lost goat, but instead he found sealed jars that held scrolls hidden for nearly 2,000 years. He did not know it then, but his discovery would shake the world of archaeology and faith. The year after, Israel became a nation again. Do you think that was a coincidence? Or was it destiny? When I returned from my near-death experience, I could not forget the burning words I heard. The scrolls are not just history, they are a prophetic clock. Their message has been preserved for this generation, for us, for you listening right now. I believe God pulled me back to share this warning before it is too late. When I was in that place beyond life, I was shown something strange and powerful. It was not a calendar like the one hanging on the wall of our homes. It was a calendar made of light. Every number and every line was glowing. It pulsed as if it had a heartbeat. And I understood that this was the calendar of the Essenes. The Essenes were a Jewish community living in the desert 2,000 years ago. They separated themselves from society. They lived with discipline. They prayed. They studied prophecy day and night. They believed that God had given them a special way to measure time, and that this calendar was not only about counting days, but about unlocking destiny. Unlike the Jewish lunar calendar, which is based on the cycles of the moon and has 354 days in a year, the Essenes followed a solar calendar. It had 364 days, divided into perfect weeks, every year ending on the same day. Imagine the beauty of that order. Every year perfectly aligned. No confusion, no shifting dates, only precision, only structure. And to them, it was holy. But this calendar was not about marking birthdays or harvests. It was about seeing the hidden plan of God. They called it the calendar of light. They said it revealed the pattern of history itself. In my vision, I saw how they used it. They marked cycles of 7 years. These were called schmita cycles. After every 6 years of labor came a 7th year of rest, a year for the land, a year dedicated to God. Then 7 of these cycles were grouped together, 49 years. And after that came the 50th year, the Jubilee, the year of release, the year of restoration, the year when slaves were set free, when land returned to its rightful owners, when debts were forgiven. This was not only an economic system, it was a prophetic rhythm, beating at the heart of time. As I watched the glowing lines of that calendar in my near-death vision, I realized it was speaking about more than ancient Israel. It was speaking about our world today. The rhythm of debt, slavery, and release is still here. Look around in our society. Millions of Filipinos are trapped in debts, trapped in unfair labor, trapped in systems that promise freedom but deliver chains. The Jubilee is not only about the past, it is a reminder that God always plans release and restoration for his people. The Essenes believed that these cycles pointed to the great moments of history. They believed that the Messiah would come in a Jubilee year. They believed that the transition from one age to another would always be marked by this rhythm. And when I stood there in that realm between life and death, I felt chills as I realized we are standing at the edge of such a transition today. Think about it. The world is not moving randomly. History is not chaos. There is a pattern. There is a structure. The Essenes saw it. They preserved it. They wrote it on scrolls and hid it in caves for us to find. And now, as we face wars, corruption, pandemics, and moral collapse, this prophetic calendar is whispering that these are not just accidents of history. They are signs. The Shemitah cycle speaks of rest for the land, but in today's time, the land is crying. Forests are cut, seas are polluted, farmers are struggling, creation itself is groaning, waiting for release. When you look at the calendar of the Essenes, you understand that even the environment is part of the prophetic story. The earth longs for Jubilee, just as our souls long for freedom. The Jubilee cycle speaks of freedom for the oppressed. But what do we see today? We see human trafficking, addiction, poverty, corruption, entire generations trapped in darkness. When I saw the glowing calendar in my vision, I knew it was not a theory. It was alive. It was pointing to our present reality. The brokenness of our society is the very reason the Jubilee is needed. The calendar is a call, a cry for restoration. The Essenes also believed that God structured the ages of history according to these cycles, each Jubilee marking a divine reset, each Jubilee pointing toward a greater fulfillment. They were not foolish dreamers. They were watchmen. They calculated and they waited. And when I woke up from my near-death experience, I felt as if God was asking me, will you also be a watchman? Will you warn the people of your generation? In my heart, I remembered the faces I saw during my vision. I saw young people chained by social media, trapped in screens, losing hope. I saw families broken by greed and lies. I saw nations fighting for power while the poor suffer. And then I saw the Jubilee flame. It was burning. It was bright. It was declaring freedom. And I understood that the prophetic calendar was not just a teaching. It was a warning, a sign, a message for us to wake up. Many in our time laugh at prophecy. They say it is superstition. They say it is a myth. But how can we ignore that the Dead Sea Scrolls were hidden 2,000 years ago and were found in 1947, exactly before Israel was restored in 1948? How can we ignore that the calendar matches events in history? How can we close our eyes when the rhythm continues into our own time? I speak now not as a scholar, not as an expert, but as someone who has seen with his own soul. I tell you, the calendar is real. It is alive. It is a message from God, and its cycles are still beating. The Jubilee is coming, and we are closer than we think. This is not just history. This is prophecy. This is destiny. When I woke up in the hospital after my near-death experience, I could still hear the echo of that glowing clock of light, tick after tick, cycle after cycle, and I knew that our generation is about to face the next turning point. We are living at the edge of history, and the Essene calendar is whispering, prepare, watch, be ready. As I continued to see the vision in that place between life and death, I was shown something even deeper, not just the ages, not just the flow of history, but the exact prophecy about the Messiah, written long before he walked the earth. The Essenes preserved it in a scroll, and it spoke of a Jubilee year. The scroll was called 11Q Melchizedek. It was written almost 100 years before Jesus was born. In it, the Essenes described a figure, the Anointed One, the Messiah. They wrote that he would come during a Jubilee year to proclaim liberty to the captives, to bring freedom, to declare the acceptable year of the Lord. The same words that appear in Isaiah 61. In my vision, I saw Jesus himself. I saw him walking into the synagogue of his hometown. I saw him ask for the scroll of Isaiah. I heard him read the words, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor, to proclaim liberty to the captives." And then he looked at the people and said, "Today this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing." It was not only a sermon, it was a declaration, it was a signal. He was announcing that he was the Messiah, and that this was the Jubilee year that had been foretold. Imagine the shock of those who heard him. They had known him as the carpenter's son, but now he was claiming to fulfill prophecy, written 100 years earlier, and hidden in scrolls that would only be found 2,000 years later. The Essenes were not guessing. They had calculated. They had seen the rhythm of Jubilees, and Jesus came at exactly the right time. He proclaimed freedom in the year of freedom. He began his ministry in the Jubilee year, not by accident, but by divine design. History aligned with prophecy. Time itself bowed to the plan of God. This is what I realized as I lay between life and death. If the calendar was right about his first coming, then why should we doubt that it is right about his second coming? If the Jubilee marked his arrival the first time, should we not also watch for the Jubilee that marks his return? The Essenes pointed not only to the past but also to the future, and that future is our present. When I thought about this, I felt a wave of conviction. Because today we live as if history has no pattern. We live as if life is random. But the Messiah came on time. He fulfilled prophecy to the very year, and he promised to return. The scrolls were hidden so that when they were discovered, we would be reminded that God's timing is never late. It is always precise. I remembered how the people in the synagogue reacted. They were filled with wrath. They tried to push Jesus out of the city and even kill him. They understood what he was claiming. He was not just another teacher. He was declaring himself to be the one, the Messiah. And he was saying it in the Jubilee year. He was announcing the eternal Jubilee, not just freedom from debts or slavery, but freedom from sin and death. As I watched this unfold in my vision, I understood something important. Our generation is also faced with a choice, the same choice the people of Nazareth faced. Will we accept the Messiah and his message, or will we reject him and continue in blindness? The Jubilee is not only about history, it is about decision. It is about hearts. The scroll 11q Melchizedek said the Messiah would proclaim liberty and comfort all who mourn. Is that not what our world needs right now? In the Philippines, we see families mourning because of poverty, because of drugs, because of violence. Around the world, nations mourn because of wars and disasters. The message of the Jubilee is exactly what humanity is crying for: release, comfort, restoration. When I woke up from my near-death experience, I carried with me this burning thought. Jesus came on time the first time. He fulfilled the Jubilee prophecy perfectly, and now we are standing at the edge of another Jubilee, the final one. This is not coincidence. This is divine order. The scrolls prove it. History proves it. And my vision confirmed it. If he came once at the appointed time, he will come again at the appointed time. The calendar does not lie. The Jubilee cycle is not broken. The final release is near, and we are the ones who will see it with our own eyes. If only we are awake. If only we are ready. After seeing the Messiah in the synagogue, declaring that the prophecy was fulfilled in their hearing, my vision moved forward. It was as if I was lifted higher and shown the structure of creation itself, the very framework of time. I saw the days of Genesis unfold one by one, but each day stretched like 1,000 years. Each day representing an age of human history. In the beginning I saw God speak light into the darkness, the first day, and I understood that from Adam to Noah, the first 1,000 years, humanity walked in a fragile light, but was quickly consumed by sin. The flood was the judgment that closed that age. Then came the second day, the separation of waters, and I saw the covenant with Abraham, the calling of a people set apart. The next 1,000 years marked by promise and separation. The third day of creation showed plants and fruit-bearing trees rising, life multiplying on the earth. And in the timeline, this was the 1,000 years from Abraham to Moses and the giving of the law. The nation of Israel taking root, like a tree planted by the rivers of covenant. Then came the fourth day, when God placed the sun, the moon, and the stars in the sky to give light and mark the times. This was the 1,000 years leading to Christ, the prophets shining like stars in the darkness, preparing the way for the true light of the world. The fifth day of creation was filled with living creatures in the waters and birds flying in the heavens. And I understood this as the 1,000 years after Christ, when the gospel began to spread like waves across the seas, like birds flying across continents, the message reaching new lands, life multiplying in faith. Then came the sixth day, when humanity was created, made in the image of God, called to rule the earth. This is the age we live in now. The 1,000 years where the nations rise, where human pride reaches its height, but also where corruption and violence fill the earth once again. And then, in my vision, I saw the seventh day, the day when God rested, the Sabbath, and I knew it was pointing to the final 1,000 years, the kingdom age, when Christ himself would reign, when peace and righteousness would fill the earth, when creation would finally rest. This was not only a story of creation, it was a prophecy of history. Each day 1,000 years, each day unfolding until the seventh. The scriptures confirm this pattern. Psalm 90 verse 4 says that 1,000 years in God's sight are like a day, and 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 8 repeats it. With the Lord, one day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. The Essenes understood this. They saw that creation was not only the beginning but also the blueprint. 6 days of labor, 6,000 years of human struggle, and then the seventh day of rest. The 7,000 years of peace. When I realized this, my whole body trembled, because I knew where we are. We are at the end of the sixth day. We are closing the 6,000 years. We are on the edge of the Sabbath. The kingdom is at hand. The very pattern of creation is shouting that history is almost complete, that the final rest is near. But here is what also shook me. Every day of creation was marked by God's voice, by order, by purpose. Yet in our time, the world says history is random, that life is accidental, that we are only dust without meaning. But the vision I saw proved otherwise. History is written like a song, measured like a clock, guided like the rising and setting of the sun. Nothing is by accident. Everything is by design. And when you look at the sixth day, the day of humanity, the 1,000 years we live in now, you see pride, technology, empires, global systems, humans trying to rule the world without God, just as Adam tried to grasp knowledge without obedience, and just as the serpent deceived in the beginning, today the world is deceived by power, by greed, by lies. It is the same pattern, repeating before the Sabbath comes. In my heart I remembered the Philippines. I remembered our islands battered by storms, our people struggling with poverty, our youth trapped in addiction, and I realized we are not outside of this story. We are inside it. We are living at the very end of the sixth day, the labor pains before the rest, the chaos before the kingdom. The pattern is perfect. 6 days of creation, 6,000 years of human history, the seventh day, the kingdom, and we are standing at the border. The horizon of time is glowing with the light of the seventh day. And the voice that spoke to me in the vision whispered, "Tell them, warn them, the Sabbath is near. The kingdom is at hand." I came back from death with this fire in my chest. Creation is not just a story for children. It is the structure of time itself. The Essenes knew it. The scrolls confirm it. The Bible declares it. And my vision revealed it. We are not walking blindly into the future. We are walking toward the final rest, the seventh day, the kingdom of Christ. This is why we must not waste the little time left. Every breath, every choice, every act of love matters, because the days are numbered, the pattern is set, and soon the sixth day will close, the trumpet will sound, and the Sabbath will begin. When the vision moved again, I saw numbers flashing before my eyes, years and cycles turning like wheels of fire, and at the center of those wheels was the number 2026. It pulsed again and again until I could not ignore it. The voice beside me whispered, "This is the beginning of the final Jubilee." I remembered the teachings of the Essenes about the Jubilee. Every 50 years, a great release. Land returned, debts forgiven, slaves set free. But in the prophetic scale, the Jubilee was not only an economic practice, it was a cosmic signal, a divine reset, a doorway into new seasons of history. And now the number burned into my vision, 2026, the threshold of the last Jubilee cycle. This cycle would not be like the others. It would be the final one, from 2026 to 2075, and at its close the kingdom age would begin. 1,000 years of rest, 1,000 years of peace. This was not my imagination. It was not a dream. It was a message, and I knew it was for our time, for this generation. Think about it. The scrolls were hidden for 2,000 years. Then they were discovered in 1947, exactly before Israel became a nation again in 1948. History is not random. The cycles are precise. And now the next great marker is in front of us, the final Jubilee. We are not entering another ordinary year. We are entering the countdown. I saw visions of the world today. Wars rising in different lands, nations preparing weapons, earthquakes splitting the ground, storms and floods destroying homes, pandemics spreading fear. I saw technology growing like a giant beast, cameras watching, machines controlling, people becoming numbers in systems they cannot escape. And the voice said, "These are not accidents. These are signs that the cycle is turning." In the Philippines, I saw young men and women glued to screens, losing hours, losing hope, families divided by corruption, children growing without guidance. I saw people in debt, people trapped in hopelessness. And then I saw the word Jubilee written in light. I understood that God's plan was still to bring release, still to bring restoration. Even when society collapses, the promise of Jubilee remains. But here is the warning. The Essenes taught that the final Jubilee would not be peaceful from the start. It would be marked by shaking, by increasing trials, by the world groaning louder and louder, until the great release comes. The beginning of the cycle would feel like labor pains, stronger and closer together as the end approaches, and then at last the birth of the kingdom. As I lay in my hospital bed after the near-death experience, I realized that we are in the last minutes before midnight. The final cycle is about to open. 2026 is not far away. It is the threshold, the line between ages, the doorway to the last Jubilee, and we must decide how we will live as this countdown begins. I cannot forget the fear and the hope I felt at the same time. Fear because the shaking will be real. Wars, economic collapse, persecution, deception, but hope because the Messiah is coming. Hope because the Jubilee is the promise of freedom. Hope because the kingdom is certain. No power on earth can stop it. No empire can block it. Time itself is moving toward it. The scrolls were hidden for us, not for them, for this generation, and they are now speaking louder than ever. Do not think you have endless years ahead. Do not think the world will continue as it always has. The clock is striking. The cycles are turning. 2026 will mark the start. And whether you believe or not, the story will unfold. The final Jubilee is not just about Israel. It is about the nations. It is about us. It is about the Philippines, about every family, every soul, because the call of Jubilee is freedom, restoration, release, but only for those who are ready, only for those who open their eyes, only for those who hear the trumpet and prepare. I tell you now, my near-death vision was not given to me to keep silent. It was given to warn you, to wake you up, to shake you from sleep. The Essenes were watchmen in their time, and now we must be watchmen in ours. The signs are clear. The calendar is precise. The final Jubilee is at hand. 2026 is the year of crossing, the year when history changes forever. The vision did not stop. After I saw the year 2026 glowing in fire, I was shown the years that would follow, decades unfolding like pages of a book, and I knew that this was not just about a single year. It was about a season, a cycle, the final Jubilee from 2026 until 2075. In those pages of time, I saw wars and rumors of wars. I heard the sound of nations rising against nations and kingdoms collapsing. I saw hunger spreading, prices of food rising beyond what the poor could pay. I saw diseases without cure, shaking entire communities, earthquakes and storms hitting again and again. And I realized these were the same warnings Jesus spoke of in Matthew 24, the beginning of sorrows, the birth pangs before the end. But then I was shown another layer. I saw technology rising like a giant Tower of Babel, satellites circling the earth, machines watching every movement, systems tracking every purchase. I saw people depending on screens for truth, but receiving only lies, deception spreading faster than the wind. And the voice beside me whispered, "The system of control is already here, and in the final Jubilee, it will reach its fullness." I felt the weight of this because I knew it was not only about faraway nations, it was about us, about the Philippines. I saw families struggling. I saw young people trapped in addictions. I saw corruption growing like a cancer. I saw storms hitting our islands. And yet in the middle of the chaos, I also saw lights, small flames burning in the darkness, men and women who refused to bow to lies, churches rising in prayer, families standing strong in faith, the faithful shining like stars in the night. The Essenes had hidden their scrolls 2,000 years ago because they knew their community was about to be destroyed, but they believed the message would survive. They believed it would reach the right people at the right time. And now I understood why. Because we are the ones who need it most. We are the generation that must hear. The final cycle is upon us. The last Jubilee has begun. I saw the years passing. From 2026 forward, the world changing faster and faster, the pressure increasing, until the final decade of the cycle. And then I saw 7 years of darkness, 7 years of trial unlike anything the earth has seen. It was like the climax of history, the time Jesus called the Great Tribulation, the worst season humanity will ever face. And it was placed at the end of the Jubilee cycle, not the beginning. This revelation burned inside me. The world may think the end will come suddenly, but the scrolls showed a pattern, a buildup, an escalation, until the final years when everything will break, and then the kingdom will come, the Messiah will return, the Jubilee will reach its ultimate fulfillment. Freedom not only from debts and slavery, but freedom from sin, death, and the rule of evil itself. As I returned from death back to life, I asked myself, why me? Why was I shown this? I am no prophet. I am just a man. But the answer came clear, because the message is not for me alone. It is for everyone, for every family, every believer, every nation. God did not preserve the scrolls so that we could ignore them. He preserved them so that we could prepare. Look at the signs around you. Israel is restored. Jerusalem is under Jewish control. Wars are increasing. Technology for global surveillance is already in our hands. Moral corruption is spreading. Truth is being silenced. Deception is celebrated. Everything the scriptures warned about is in motion. And the calendar of the Essenes points directly to our time, to our generation. Do not think this is far away. Do not think this is only for scholars or preachers. It is for you, for your family, for your children, because the world we live in is the very stage where prophecy is unfolding. The final Jubilee is not only about Israel, it is about the whole earth. It is about the Philippines. It is about you. I came back with one mission: to speak, to warn, to call people to wake up, because time is short. 2026 is the door. The last Jubilee is the journey. And at the end of it stands the kingdom, the return of the Messiah. And nothing can stop what has been written. Nothing can change what has been decreed. The cycles are turning. The clock is ticking. And we must decide how we will live in these final years. When the vision began to fade, and I felt my spirit being pulled back toward my broken body, there was one last moment, one last encounter that I cannot forget. I stood before a light so pure, so overwhelming, that every fear melted, every wound healed, every question silenced. And I knew it was the presence of the Lord, the one who had guided me through the visions, the one who holds history in his hands. He looked at me, though he had no face I could describe, only radiance, only love, and I felt my entire life laid bare, my failures, my sins, my selfishness. Yet instead of condemnation, I felt mercy. I felt grace pouring over me like water. And I understood why this age is called the Age of Grace, because every moment until now has been an opportunity for forgiveness, an open door, to return to God. In that moment I wanted to stay. I wanted never to leave, but he spoke to me, not with words of sound, but with words that pierced my soul. He said, "Mateo, I am sending you back. You will tell them what you have seen. You will warn them of the time, but more than the warnings, you will remind them of my love, because it is my love that saves. It is my love that restores. It is my love that will carry them through the final Jubilee." I wept, because I saw not only visions of prophecy but also visions of people. I saw children in slums crying from hunger. I saw mothers working overseas longing for their families. I saw fathers crushed by debt and hopelessness. I saw youth lost in the chains of drugs and darkness. I saw entire generations distracted by lies on their screens. And I realized that the greatest danger is not only war or earthquakes, but the blindness of hearts, the numbness of souls. The Lord showed me families in the Philippines, our islands battered by storms, yet shining with resilience. He showed me churches praying in small rooms, with tears and hope. He showed me men and women who refused to bow to corruption, who kept their faith even when the world mocked them. And he said, "These are the lights. These are the ones who will shine in the darkness of the final cycle. Encourage them, strengthen them, for their reward is great." I begged him, "Lord, what can I tell them? What words can I carry from this place of glory back to a world of pain?" And he answered, "Tell them to forgive one another. Tell them to love one another. Tell them to prepare their hearts, because what is coming will test every soul. And only those who stand in love will endure. Only those who hold on to me will find peace in the storm." Then I saw something that broke me. I saw multitudes standing before a throne, every nation, every tribe, every language, and among them I saw faces of people I knew, neighbors, friends, even strangers I had passed in the streets. And I heard the words, "Every soul matters. Every soul is loved. Do not waste the time you have left. Call them, warn them, embrace them." As I was pulled back into my body, with the sound of hospital machines around me, my heart burning with this mission, I knew I could never live the same way again. I had seen too much. I had felt too much. I had been given too much, and I could not keep silent. I must speak. I must tell. I must shout if necessary, that the time is short, the final Jubilee is near, and the only hope is in the one who loved us enough to die for us and rise again. So now I speak to you, not as a preacher, not as a scholar, but as someone who has touched eternity, as someone who has seen the clock of prophecy, as someone who has heard the voice of the Lord. And I beg you, do not waste your days. Do not ignore the signs. Do not close your heart, because the kingdom is coming, and it is closer than you think. If you are hearing my voice, it means you still have time. Time to turn back, time to love, time to forgive, time to prepare. Because one day soon the trumpet will sound, and the final Jubilee will end, and the kingdom will begin. And then there will be no more chances, no more delays, only truth, only judgment, only glory. This is my message. This is my burden. This is my gift to you from the edge of death and life. Live as if the days are numbered. Love as if tomorrow may not come. Pray as if heaven is listening, because it is, because he is, because the scrolls were not wrong, the cycles are not broken, the calendar is complete, and the Messiah is at the door. You have heard my story. You have seen the warning. You know the truth. Now I ask you, do not stay silent. Do not walk away. This message must spread. Subscribe to this channel right now. Share it with your family. Share it with your friends. Leave your comment below and tell me what you feel. Do you see the signs? Do you believe the time is short? Your words may wake up another soul. Do not wait. Do not delay. Press subscribe. Press the bell. Write your comment. Let us stand together as watchmen for this generation. The final Jubilee is near, and your voice matters today.